Great. So good to see all of you. Friends, family. Dr. Bassman, welcome. And who's that beautiful man walking in the door there? Hey, Kevin. I think Tina's got you right in front here. So thank you all for making this journey today. It was quite the weather. At least I thought so. Coming from the Netherlands, not really used to driving in this weather. So, yeah, well done, guys. And maybe for a moment, we could take that journey a little bit further by just taking a deep breath together and relax from the travel, the snow, the wind. It's a short journey from the mind into the heart, but it can also take a lifetime. Just depends on what you choose. Thank you so much. It's an honor that I could speak here and, be with you. I met Tina in 2016, and yeah, maybe you have that same experience when you met her, or as family or as friends, that there's just something about her. And this connection just became stronger. And when she asked me to be here today, it was just obvious. We spoke about her book in 2016 already. Won't disclose all the details, but it had to do with orgasm. So I think that was the best way to describe what she went through. But I'll leave that up to her to reveal the details. Have a great morning, afternoon with us, and I will be announcing other speakers. For now, yeah, enjoy, mingle, as Tina said, her orders, mingle. Yeah. Be love. Thank you. Tina Blackwell.
Test, Jesus. Test. When I booked this venue, I had no idea that it was actually at this exact time, 24 years ago, that my life changed forever. 24 years, that's half my life. And even though after you read the book, it was a really extreme journey, I wouldn't change one single thing. I wouldn't change what I've grown to be, how I look at life, and how I feel of life. And I wouldn't change the heroes I met along the way. In 1997, I had the privilege of meeting one of the most extraordinary human beings I've ever known, Dr. Marcus Bessman. I had no belief in myself and no faith in myself, but you taught me how to believe in myself. You kept my light lit by the way you spoke to me and treated me with dignity and respect when everyone else didn't see it at all. I was a drug addict. You showed me I wasn't. And you showed me I was capable of so much more. And Dr. Bessman, Marcus, if you hadn't been for you, I would have succeeded in killing myself. The reflection in your eyes showed me what I was capable of. And I love you with all my heart. Kent, a man who had the guts to take on a palliative patient, had never done so before. Everyone else was done trying. There was nothing left to do. I was home care, palliative care. Doctors coming to the house, doing epidurals, just symptom management. I could feel my life spirit going. I knew I was dying. Had you not stepped in with your team, I would have danced my last dance with my mom. And those goodbyes I said at that time would have been real. You single-handedly gave me my life back. Single-handedly, and I will cherish, adore, and love you forever. The heroes. 24 years ago, my life changed, but so did my mom's. She had to walk away from her life to help me with mine. I know all the sacrifices you made, Mom. I understand now. I don't know how you did it. I truly don't. But again, if we pull you from the equation, I'm not standing here. You kicked my ass repeatedly and you just refused to let me give up. And I love you. 10 years ago, this beautiful man, the love of my life, Kevin Blackwell, he gave me this promise ring when I was 16 years old and I'd never taken it off. This man moved across the country to spend over a year in bed laying beside a very sick girl. He didn't get anything out of it. But your love, baby, gave me a reason to want to live again. You gave me a reason, a purpose, and a future. Things I never thought I would have. I love you more than life itself. And I thank you. I'm going to talk shortly about circumstances. I'm an in-your-face example that everything is possible. This journey has given me the privilege of conducting many experiments. And the biggest experiments I've conducted is on belief. You'll see in the book, when you read the book, or what the doctors wrote, or what the doctors would say, well, I chose not to believe them. And guess what? I was right. Our circumstances have zero effect on our state of being. And I practiced this again just 2 days ago. Laying on an operating table, once again, the drape on the lower back, multiple injections. The doctor says, here comes the poke. I just saw this really cool friend soldier coming in to save my spine and help put my spine up together. It didn't hurt. He told me it would hurt, but it didn't hurt. Here comes the sting. But all I saw was really, really friendly soldiers just coming to fix my spine. I laid on that operating table with a perma smile on my face because I chose to believe that it was something good. Circumstances are neutral, completely neutral. It's us that define them. In every moment, you're going to have one decision to make, and that's a yes or a no. If it's a no, good luck. There comes your suffering. But if you say yes in each moment, regardless of the circumstances, you watch how fast your life turns around. When I say everything is possible, I mean it. And this is just the beginning.
So the next speaker won't need any further introduction than what Tina said. Dr. Bassman, the stage is yours.
It's a real privilege and an honor to be here today. And if you told me 23 years ago that we would be here at Tina's book launch, I probably would have looked at you with a bit of incredulity. So it's been quite a journey, and I've had the privilege to share it with this beautiful person who's taught me way more than any textbook has ever taught me in medicine. So to make sure I don't miss any points, I'm going to go through a few little items without taking up too much of your precious time. So 23 years ago at the Hull Hospital, a young lady whose life had been shattered by a motor vehicle accident walked into my office and was very, very angry. I'm not sure if you still had the caller on, but you'd been told a lot of things by a lot of people and were very and rightfully upset. And for whatever reason at that time, as you well know, pain management has come through various ebbs and flows, and I was still trained at a time where you only gave narcotics to people that were dying of cancer. But at that point, we were given more and more carte blanche to give it in higher doses to patients that have had other non-cancerous pain. And although by today's standards, after everything we've seen with the opioid crisis, you might think that might be malpractice, maybe at that time that was what was needed for Tina to realize that her life wasn't over. And I'll never forget a few anecdotes of her coming back after I'd given her a video that I think actually one of the drug companies produced. So this is that yin and yang. I've been thinking a lot about that in the evil lies some light, and in the light there's sometimes some hidden evil. But the drug companies had produced this video called How I Got My Life Back or something like that. And I think you made a bunch of copies for your mom, Pauline. I think you must have seen that video a couple of times. And just that just because you're hurting all over doesn't mean that your life is over. And I think you got back into teaching yoga and doing all kinds of stuff. And we just kept ratcheting up, for better or for worse, these magic pills, right? Knowing full well that that wasn't the answer. And so thank you, Ken, for saving us from that catastrophe. Because in hindsight, I think we all do things with the best of intentions, but as they say, the road to heaven, I guess, is paved with good intentions. So we did a lot of things wrong in hindsight, but were they wrong? They're wrong by today's standards. They're wrong by what we know now. But life is like that. If we all knew then what we knew now, we'd all be multimillionaires lying on a beach somewhere, right? But what did we do right? I mean, I think what we did right is when we tackle pain, and my job for the better part of the last 30 years has been trying to get people to somehow deal with their pain, we keep thinking of ratcheting down the pain. But ratcheting down the pain usually means that we're giving something that's going to make you feel less. But you can't selectively feel less of just one emotion. You selectively annihilate almost the capacity to feel everything else, including love and joy and passion and enthusiasm. And I think that's partly what was happening. And it's only thanks to Tina that she was able to capitalize on the gift of having a bit less pain to get more of all the other things in her life. And so when she sent me the video of her jumping out of an airplane, which I'm sure you've all seen, and the joy that she had upon landing and feeling alive and going to Sedona and climbing that mountain in honor of your friend, and all these things that allowed the other side of the equation to feel more as opposed to just feeling less pain, I think then you really taught us the lesson that it's not about feeling less of everything, it's feeling more of the joy and the love and the compassion. So there are multiple challenges along the way, as you've probably read in the book, and it sounds like every corner, Tina was just confronted with one more. I mean, I don't know how one person in a lifetime gets to experience as many confrontations as Tina, but for better or for worse, it obviously led you to exactly where you needed to be. I don't know that most of us would have had the gumption to get through all what Tina's gotten through. I have to question myself. I don't know if I had the courage and the strength to do that. So in the book, you'll read all the things that she had to go through, and that in hindsight did have meaning hidden in them. And that's the recipe I think that she's trying to get to you, is that life is a mixture of all the joy and the sorrows, but within the sorrows lies some incredibly hidden gems of messages. And that's where the revelation is often that Tina's teaching us so eloquently, is that don't just seek out the beautiful things. It's by letting them unfold despite the carnage, I think, that we find the true meaning in life. And you've certainly taught me a lot of lessons along the way. So about 3 years ago on the ski marathon, I dislocated my right leg and tore all the ligaments in my knee, and had both menisci to be repaired in multiple hours in the operating room table. And I had some time on my hands for the first time in a long time. And I called Tina up and she said, "I'm so happy for you." And I said, "You don't understand. I almost lost my leg here." He says, "I'm so happy for you." And over the time of the rehab, I kept thinking, what did she mean by that? You know, and it took actually just till recently over Christmas, I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat where I had to sit without moving for a couple of hours. And the knee was about to cause me to pass out. But from that moment of almost passing out to suddenly seeing this light and this incredible euphoric joy, maybe it was all the endorphins, was a very, very fine line. And so that fine line between pleasure and pain, not that you would tell that to anybody who's in chronic pain. If I told you years ago, "Tina, there's a fine line between pleasure and pain," you probably would have sent me running, you know. But then between pain and enlightenment, I mean, now we're talking about a quantum leap. And I think that's what you've done, Tina. You've taken the pain, not only made a purpose out of the pain, but you've literally become an enlightened person, I think, as a result of all the pain and suffering that you've gone through. The privilege I've had as well is that few of my patients have my phone number, and I mean, maybe if right or wrong, we don't necessarily give them out, but anytime Tina called or texted, it was always very appropriate, very precise, and the request was very doable and deliverable. And even when Pauline, you once or twice texted, I thought, well, if Pauline's calling, it must be because Tina's actually not in a position to be able to call. And so whether it had to do with your father who required the palliative care, I mean, I knew nothing of palliative care, and all it took was get a bunch of nurses to get to the house to allow your dad to pass in peace. And thank you for doing that, Tina, because the love that you've shown your dad and Pauline, I know you both have a love that transcends everything I've seen, is absolutely beautiful. And I think that's a testimony as well to who you are and how this pain has just kindled in you this incredible, all-encompassing love. And I thank you for showing that to me. I mean, my dad just passed this fall, and I think you were an inspiration for me to reconcile with him and to be able to allow him to move on in peace to the next life. There's a story I need to share with you about forgiveness and Tina's lesson on forgiveness. So Mary, my wonderful wife, and I run a program down in Perth, Project Trauma Support, that some of you have been to, and there was a group of women that had been through some pretty horrific things as well. And Tina, whom I had described as somebody who came to me first in a cervical collar and very, very angry, was talking about the power of forgiveness. And you've seen Tina's wonderful long mane of hair. She says, this is what forgiveness can do, and starts whipping her head around. And I'm thinking, I've seen your x-rays. So that neck isn't supposed to do that. Please stop. I'm going to get nauseous watching you do that. And truly, the power of forgiveness and acceptance, and not only that, gratitude towards the people who we perceive as the orchestrator of the demise of our life. And when you got to that point where you not only accepted and forgave, but thanked the person who brought you to that level, I think that's when we transcend the carnage and turn it into true beauty. And so the book Signposts is really prophetic in what you've chosen as the title, and I congratulate the cover. I think says it all. Is all along our life paths there are these signposts. And you've been better at reading them than most. And most of us would turn back at some of the signposts because they're just too ugly and we don't want to go there. And it wasn't in the plans. And we hear that over and over again. The soldiers I deal with in the military, but that wasn't my plan, Doc. I wasn't supposed to go there. We were not supposed to go down that road. And that bastard brought us down the road that was not meant to be. But was it not meant to be? I mean, is not everything that we go through for us, not against us, right? So just like you congratulating me on my knee injury, this is happening for you, not to you, and I'll always remember that. So for all the lessons you've taught me, because you've taught me way more than I've ever done for you, and so I appreciate the accolades, but all I've had is the immense privilege to be able to accompany you through this lifelong journey that I hope will continue for many, many more years to come. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for listening. Yeah. Tino.
Are there many people next door? 6. Get their asses in here. We're not done yet. Marie, you made it. So good to see you. Well done. How did you come? Uber? Patrice, are there a lot of people still next door? Can you get their asses in here? We're not done. I love your suit, Kevin. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just look more at men somehow. All right, Dr. Bassman, thank you so much. I'm glad we had some time after your words to really feel all that. Tina calls you her angel, and I fully feel why. So this law of attraction thing, Tina, actually works, right? I mean, what kind of giant must you be to have these giants in your life? Pretty amazing. So the next giant that will speak here is Kent MacLeod. Did I pronounce it correctly again? Thank you so much. And the team of Nutrichem, there are some people from Nutrichem here as well, right? Yeah, just wanted to say I heard much about you, and great to have you here. Thank you. Stage is yours.
Thank you for having me, Tina. You may have to forgive my voice. I'm very fortunate to have 4 grandchildren. But as Tina's taught you, that for every good thing, there can be some side effects. The side effects is they've given me this cold, so I apologize for how I sound, but they're wonderful. I didn't know I was speaking, but it's funny, at the table, it just came out, and I was thinking of how, and I invite you all to come to our new facility, which frankly is the coolest facility in North America. It really is a special place. And I was trying to get money to build this special place. So I was going to the banks, and they were trying to figure out how I actually was going to pay for this. And there was no model that they could come up with, so they wouldn't give me any monies. So I essentially put everything I own and everything I have into this place because I wanted to have a place that would go beyond me and go into the future and attract the kind of people that I have working for me, because they're so special as well. And they believe in what I'm doing, and I want this to be around. And it's at a moment like this where I put everything in, and my left brain has, very scientific chemistry kind of dude, has no financial way of figuring this out. But a moment like this, when I hear you speaking, I did the right thing. It doesn't matter anymore, right? And you can't articulate it. You can't justify it. You can only feel it. So thank you for that. And that place is for you and people like you. Think about that. I'm just sitting there every once in a while. You're overwhelmed with, how am I going to do this? And then I come here and it doesn't matter anymore, does it? So thank you for that. And during my discussions with the banks, they're going like, so what do you actually do? Remember, even Tina called me when she was writing your book. He said, what did you do? I said to the banks and to Tina, I said, well, I actually do what works. They go, wow, this is the banks who, that's an amazing concept. This is brilliant. You actually do things in health that work. I go, yes, but we can't give you money for that. We can only give you money for, the regular drugs and shit that people you can put numbers to. Isn't that crazy, the world we live in, right? It's crazy. So Tina, even when you're writing your book, you called me and you said, okay, I'm writing my book. What actually did you do? What a crazy question, right? Not so crazy. I said, well, don't you remember? You came in and you had a list of all these issues that, everyone went through, but your digestive system was not functioning. It was shut down. I said, so I started with your digestive system. Oh. So today, my book will be coming out in February, The Biology of the Brain, the relationship of the gut microbiome to the brain, pain, inflammation, the whole correct and true concept of pain and mental health being related to inflammation, whether it's inflammatory thoughts, inflammatory trauma, or inflammation biologically and biochemically that can come from gut chemistry. That's the truth. And working on this thing works, right? So essentially, in your list of all the things that you came in with, it wasn't even on your list, the fact that your digestive system had shut down. Wasn't even on the list. Sometimes I deal with this so many times in a day. People with addiction, pain, autism, Alzheimer's disease, all kinds of disorders, and their digestive system is not functioning, or they're in such pain. And I will say, what if we improve your digestive system? There's nothing wrong with that, safe and effectively. And let's see how many other things improve. And that's sort of the truth, right? I couldn't put financing into it. I can't get a bank to give me money for that. They want to find out what I'm selling or what products I'm selling. You need a team. You need a team to work on that. It's not something we're taught in 8 years of school at the University of Toronto or in medical school, but it's the truth. And you need to work with people like Tina, and why did you even believe me? I mean, you went to everywhere, and this cuckoo guy is saying, well, I'm gonna work on how you eat and your digestive system. And you're going I'm dying. What, are you a moron? Right? I'm dying, and you're talking about my digestive system? You are a moron. And you still believe, well, maybe I think maybe you had no choice, but you believe the moron anyhow. Thank God. But most wouldn't, and most doctors sadly would say that I'm a moron too. So that's who you are as well. So I'm standing here. It's a testament to you that you actually believe me. And sometimes it's so tragic, right, that people will every day. I had someone literally the last day and said, well, my doctor says this can't be true, so I can't do this, right? There's 10,000 studies a month on this relationship. So what I'm going to end with, which is I built this place for the truth. I built it not because it's rational, but because you showed me how you just keep going forward and say yes And it is a testament to you that you believe them on. So thank you for, and as Dr. Bestman said, really, you've given me so much more than I've given you. So thank you very much for everything that you brought to me.
Look what I've got. Thank you, Kent MacLeod, for your words. Do I say it correctly, Tina? He's the one who single-handedly brought you back to life 9 years ago. So that's quite something. Oh, well, just another day. Nice. So I asked Tina if I could read something from the book. She said yes. So, throughout the book, you will find that Tina's inner voice all of a sudden becomes heard. It was there all along, obviously, but all of a sudden she hears it. So I was just going through the book secretly. You didn't know that. I just took it out of the car yesterday. And I found this part that I'd like to read to you. So it's the inner voice. You have finally gotten a glimpse of who you truly are, my beauty, and of what you are actually capable. You followed the excitement of no longer taking those medications, and you didn't allow the doubts, fears, and obstacles to stop you. You discovered the bliss of manifestation. I love you so much. I always knew you were hearing me. It is impossible not to. But now you're listening, hence this state of bliss. You're realizing that negative emotions are just loving signposts telling you that your thoughts are completely inaccurate and untrue. You're learning to use your built-in navigation system, which we call emotions. And I am so proud of you. Everything you've been through has led to this. Every identity was stripped away from you so that you could discover the truth of what you are and what you have. The lack of self-worth and self-love was something you struggled with since you were a child. You know this. The accident just gave you the opportunity to face these things head on and resolve them once and for all. You've experienced contrasts to the extreme, but see what it has brought and keep reminding yourself of this. It's not about becoming anything at all. It is about unbecoming everything that life put upon you, everything you are not. Shed freely without labels and say yes to the destruction. Allow what you've always been to rise from the ashes. You already are pure, divine love, Release the shadows and reveal yourself. This inner voice will speak to so many. And I'm so grateful to you for writing it. And I know what it also cost you still to put it to paper. Which brings me actually to one more giant in this crowd, which is Lisa. Yes. Without Lisa, this book would have been printed with lots of crazy errors in it, right? Yeah, wasn't that like last moment thing? It was already at the printers, and then Lisa said, hey, wait a minute. Thank you so much, Lisa. Yeah. Okay, which brings me to the next speaker, unless you all want to get a drink first. Oh, you're all ears. That's great. Okay, next giant on stage is actually someone I know too. Dr. Bassman, Dr. McLeod, I didn't know you yet, but the next speaker I do know. And it's actually where we met in 2016. We both went to a retreat of Bentinho Massaro, right there. And let's see what you actually say about him. There's something in here. Bentinho's teachings brought every experience and discovery along the way to a beautiful conclusion. By explaining in vivid detail everything I had gone through and why I was still here. The state of being he speaks of, I had experienced in heaven, but this state was brought back with me and awaits us all. It already exists, always has, always will. You just have to step into it. And you said to me, when you heard him speak, how in hell does a 30-year-old at the time, 30-year-old boy know about all of this without dying first? So maybe you can enlighten us? Bentinho, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. Dina, thank you for having me. I'm honored. I feel like the greenhorn here among the speakers. I haven't been with Tina nearly as long as some of you have, so it's kind of an honor and privilege to talk here to you because only really met, 3 years ago? And I haven't saved her life in any profound kind of way, none of that. So, but we kind of speak the same language when it comes to spiritual healing, which I think is at the foundation of all healing ultimately. And yeah. So what struck me when I read Tina's book was that actually, first of all, I didn't know most of any of what I read. So even though I had known Tina for maybe a couple years by then, it was all a surprise to me. It was all like, holy fuck. Sorry, can I say that? Are we on TV or are we good? Okay. And how long do I have? Because I never speak from script, and sometimes I go on for like a 7-day retreat, so. I got lots of time. Okay, that's good for me, not good for you. So, just the fact that I had known her for 2.5 years or so, and actually had never really heard about any of these things, that struck me first of all. I was like, holy, well, I already said that. Because, yeah, just like, I mean, she's a great storyteller and all, but the fact that she doesn't carry it, on her sleeve or whatever that expression is, and she doesn't use this story to sort of build a victim persona around her or anything like that. So it's hard to tell when you meet Tina that she's been through the things she's been through. So first of all, that I really appreciated that and gave me a deepened respect for Tina, just to consider the background of all that brought her to be who she is, and her lack of putting that in your face when you meet her, because there's lots of people that do, and that's fine too. I mean, people go through a lot of hardship, and it can help us to an extent to share about it and to have other people hear it. But it's a whole other ball game to be who you are and to be available to people, to be truly present. And she's always very present in the situations I found her in. So that presence and that availability, without the making it about her story or like letting people know what she's been through and all that stuff, I think that's remarkable, first of all. So that's awesome. The second thing that struck me was just like, this is a testament of courage. Like, this whole story is just courage. It's just fucking balls. It's crazy. It threw me for a loop, and had a very cleansing, as I say in my foreword too, had a very cleansing experience. Because I think that a lot of the obstacles that we put in our own way, so to speak, a lot of the things that we experience. Can you all hear me okay? Voice-wise? Okay. A lot of the things that we experience and the problems we create and the obstacles we create and the challenges, and I say we create because I believe we create them, we choose them, they dissolve when our level of desire/courage reaches a certain level. So a very, very basic example is like, we have these definitions of ourselves. So when someone says or believes that they're shy, for example, that becomes like this identity, becomes this character. Now they are shy. So wherever they go, they are shy, and they're afraid to ask people if, where the bathroom is, even, or that kind of stuff. So it becomes an identity. Just a simple example, having that definition of ourselves, but then if the desire/courage goes through the roof because it's some kind of catalyst or signpost, as Tina calls them, suddenly we're no longer that definition. Like, it just evaporates. Like, if your child is bleeding out on the back seat and you need to ask for directions, you're not shy. You just ask for directions. So that whole thing that otherwise you wouldn't have done because of this self-identity story that you have, this belief, it just goes out the window when courage or passion or fire or intent is strong enough, is high enough, is focused enough, is precise enough, is on point, right? So then we're not shy. If we were shy, we would never be able to ask for directions, no matter the circumstances. If we were actually shy, if that was actually true, right? So again, very simple example. It's nothing to do with the degree of the things that you experience, but the same thing applies where, so reading your book, reading your story, it just really stood out to me that I would have killed myself. That's also one thing that I figured out. Like, I don't really value physical life as much, perhaps, as some people do. I think I do value it. I appreciate it. I think it's awesome, but I don't believe it's the end all be all. I think it's like one of many kind of experiences. So for me, if I had to go through that stuff, bye. I'm out of here. So, so first of all, just the courage that you had to endure and persevere was astounding. And so that took me aback, just reading the whole book. And that cleansed me, because then it puts everything in perspective, which is really the other big thing that your book, I think, offers people, is perspective and the power of comparative perspective. When we have this one perspective and that's all we know, that's what we're in, this bubble reality. And if someone brings this other perspective that comparatively kind of blows our perspective out of the water, or takes it out of that bubble, suddenly we become a different being. And we have different skills, and we have different abilities. And so, like, all limitations are really just beliefs, ultimately, and they're just self-created. And I think your story and your life and who you are, and your book is just an expression of that. It's just one manifestation of what you are, which, I think the whole vibration of you being here and the fact that you choose to take on this portion of this collective kind of denseness and persevere in transmuting that, I think that in itself is the real gift, and the book is just kind of a visible extension of that. And so again, I think it offers people, all of us, perspective, and it did for me. Like, even though I have quite an expanded perspective, it's because that's what I do, that's what I teach, I work on it every day. But still, just reading that book, that comparative perspective, it's humbling, it's cleansing, and then by the end of it, you feel like you've got nothing to complain about, kind of thing. And not in an ego competitive kind of way, like, oh, my story is heavier than your story, because you get all these games too. And Tina never plays that. She always makes sure she doesn't play that, which I also appreciate. But yeah, it's like man up, right? The book is kind of like man up, and but in a good way. So at the end of it, I don't know if you all read it, but if you haven't, I think you'll feel quite cleansed, as I call it, and you'll know what I mean once you've read it. It's like I don't have any problems, I don't really have any issues. Like, I make all these tiny little things into, I'm just a pussy. So, helps you man up, and or woman up. Sorry, we're in 2020. Woman up. So perspective. Let's see. I want to say something else about that. Well, first of all, so to get a little bit more spiritual with you guys, because that's what I do, just to kind of go back to the basics, the ground zero, and just appreciate, well, actually, if you don't mind, just like take a deep breath for a second, and just close your eyes for like 10 seconds. It's not going to be a long meditation, just like take a deep breath with your eyes closed, and just feel the fact that you exist, just the mystery of I exist. Just that. Okay, one more deep breath. And just again, bring your attention to this mysterious fact that no one can really explain. That you're even here, like that you even exist, that you even hear my voice. Like, what in the world? And just appreciate that for a second. Just to kind of reset your mind and feel your body, feel the presence that's here. And just to remember that we don't know anything, right? Like we come up with endless descriptions of this thing that is here, this existence, but over and over again, I just looking at the fact that we exist, I'm baffled, I'm humbled, I'm amazed, I'm opened up, broken open. Like, who here can explain to me this thing that is here, that existence? Like, we don't have the means to like bring that into words, to bring that into manifestation, to measure it with pen and paper or machinery. But there's an intelligence here, no doubt, for me at least. You can doubt it if you want, but there's no doubt for me that there is an intelligence, something, or maybe an intelligent no thing. A source, if you will, call it God, perhaps. Life itself, existence itself. There's something here that enables this, that we're overlooking on a day-to-day basis, moment to moment to moment to moment. We forget. That's what we do. That's what we're good at. We forget the fact that we exist. And then our perspective narrows onto all the objects in our lives, all the events, all the little things, all the sense perceptions. And so our perspective narrows down to this overlooked state of being where we start complaining about things. And again, to bring it back to this cleansing effect that Tina's words can have on us, where we are taken out of our own little bubble, where we're taken out of our own little perspective tunnel, and be opened up, be humbled to the mystery and to the intelligence that is here. And this is what I like to contact during my everyday existence. This is what I like to bring myself back to, because it does have this resetting effect, and it does seem to make this mechanism somehow more intelligent and more in flow. And I think also that's what Tina has been able to access so often, or was kind of forced to access through this degree of trauma and catalyst, because it really forces you in some direction, because you've got nowhere to go, right? Physically, you can either kill yourself, but if you've chosen not to, there's really only one way to go, which is just to question everything. And to have your attention is forced in a direction it's never gone into before. All kinds of directions, I'm sure, from the most paranoid and fear-based to the most sort of transcendent perspectives and experiences, as she also describes in her book. So it's just one big reminder, and like your whole story and your whole being here is just one big reminder for people to wake up, to not forget for just a moment, not forget, to unforget, to break that chain of forgetfulness, to snap out of the bubble and see what is here with the least amount of description and knowledge and background that you can possibly bring with you into this present moment. And something magical can happen if you're truly open. And if you've got nowhere else to go, you are truly open because you're desperate. Sometimes desperation is the best teacher for complete openness and unknowingness, freshness, humility. And so, but we can all access this, and I think also that's big part of your story. And I love that your second voice comes in, like this witnessing present Tina in the book, behind every chapter, where there is this talking to yourself. I love that perspective. And I think it really helps guide people into a greater awareness of themselves and to help burst that bubble. And so, yeah, again, like just the appreciation, like when we feel that appreciation of the mystery of that which right now, right here, is observing itself from 60 or so points of view, and nobody in this room with their physical brain is able to explain that phenomena. But it's here, right? It's like, it's here. You're here. How? How is this here? And the more you consider it, with the less of what you know, being American or Canadian or wherever you're from, and the whole background and your parents' voices inside your own heads, and the society you think that's so real out there, and the things you hear on the news, and the things that you're supposed to emphasize with and associate with, otherwise you're not a good human being, and you're a proper American or Canadian or this or that or human being, and all these, that's just one tiny little edge of what makes us a product of our environment. But if we can strip ourselves down from all those beliefs and taboos and ideas and biases, which is what something as extremely painful as what Tina's been through forces you to do, right? So there's also an appreciative a quality that I think the reader and us here can take away, and I think most of us here do, but can take away from that story is that, thank God, it sounds a little harsh, but thank God that didn't happen to me. Right? But in a beautiful, honoring way of the fact that you chose that for all of us. You chose that for the collective. So then to make use of that, to not just overlook it, to not just be like, oh, here's another book about a woman's story. Oh, great, okay, very courageous, very beautiful, that's touching. But to actually take that from the pages and apply it on a day-to-day basis, to unforget, to honor her life in that way by applying some of the results of such a challenging experience. Does that make sense? I think that's the best way to honor anything, any teacher, any guide, any parent, any friend, is to really kind of take their life experience, to take the results of their challenge, of their catalyst, as I like to call it, or the signposts that they've had in their lives, and to apply, to really bring some conscious intent and attention to what those lessons are. A very simple example of this is going to the movies, where you get to have this whole experience, this whole life experience, without actually having to go through the emotions that you would have to be in order to learn the lessons that the character, the protagonist, goes through and learns. Like, I think books, and I think I say this in my foreword too, like books and media could be used much more effectively in that way, but it is already quite effective if we use it in that way. And having a real life experience, you know, when you watch a movie and it's like based on true story, you're already more engaged. It's already more real. It's already more like, it just adds this dimension of, okay, now I can really authentically imagine what if this would be the case for me. Whereas if it's fiction, then it's easier to write off. But if it's a true story, which it is in this case, then really gives us the opportunity to apply the lessons. And I think we get the challenges in our lives that we get to point us in a certain direction. And signposts is the perfect word for that. So every time we hit an obstacle, a barrier, a challenge, a painful situation, some suffering experience, it is just like an obstacle that's slightly angled, that's trying to guide your flow into slightly different course, or sometimes radically different course, of both action, but mostly thinking and self-reflection. So again, I would like to invite all of us, and maybe whoever hears this later on and reads the book, to really honor Tina's experience by applying it in our own lives and remembering to remember, really. Like, why are we here? What is this all about? Just a moment of appreciating the magic and the mystery. Make your conscious mind kind of quiet down, and then this whole other resource of intelligence can start to operate through you. I could go on, like I said, for many days, so maybe I should end it here. Thank you so much, Tina. I love you very much. Again, testament of courage. And I really appreciate what you've done for the collective. And I mean that in the fullest embodied incarnational way possible. Thank you so much. I love you. All the best. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carol Starr Taylor, and I'm the publisher of Tina's book. But before that, 5 years ago, I had the honor of meeting Pauline and Tina as I have a sisterhood, and we connected. And I had an event in November, and you guys drove to Toronto for that event. We locked eyes, and we were soul sisters for life. We talked, and you text and you have that kind of conversation. And as we were kind of like, and then we were even talking about, writing the book, and I wrote my book, and Tina's like, we're gonna write it together. And then it was like, okay, I still have more to say. Everybody that reads the book, I think that the book is, every time you read it, and I must have read it quite a few times, it's one of those books that every time you read it, you see a different signpost. You see yourself, you see Tina, but you see the resilience, you see the brilliance, and I have to say that the book is transformational in every way. You will not be the same person that opens up the first page and reads the last. I guarantee you. And anybody else that reads the book, and everybody should read this book, they will not only see themselves, but they will see the signposts in everything around them. So thank you. I'm honored to be here, late, but never, here I am. And I am, and Lisa, where are you? Thank you. We meet in person. And you're not done yet. And every time I read that book, it was like, are you kidding me? There's more. You got a few more in you. And I can't tell you how blessed I am to be here and to celebrate with all of you. And each word is a blessing. So thank you so much, everybody, and enjoy.
Carol, right? You forgot something. So where can they get the book? Oh, okay. So you want to come back up? Yeah, speak into the mic.
I'll share with you.
Yeah, share with me.
So on Tuesday will be the global launch, everybody. And we're going to focus on Amazon, and we're going to focus on the books, because we want to get Tina, not the ebook. We're not focusing on that. We're focusing on the hardcover books and the softcover books so that we can bring her up to bestseller and beyond. Whoop, whoop. Okay? So pre-orders can happen Amazon.ca.com and anywhere else in the world. It's available globally. You will be able to, after Tuesday, you'll be able to find it on Chapters Indigo, online, and Barnes & Noble.
Oh, that's like,
That you know.
what's Chapters?
Chapters is like Barnes.
Oh, cool.
So we'll focus on Amazon on Tuesday. Pre-orders anytime starting at midnight, and it's about volume orders so that Tina can, we raise her platform on the book metadata. Okay, so tell your friends, tell, family, and it's one book per email address, guys.
What do you mean? One book?
One book per email address. So even if you buy 2 books, it's still one order. So
Okay.
that's how it works.
You get that.
So you have an account on Amazon,
Oh, sweet.
right? You buy the book. If you buy 2 books, it only counts as one order. So it's how many email addresses. Each email address is a new order. That's correct. Have 100 email addresses. Different email addresses. I have like 7, but for this purpose, so
So, and what Carol also wanted to say is that your signed copy,
is
right, is waiting for you over there at the exit. What's it called? Like this bar thing?
Yeah,
What's that called? Is it a bar?
Yeah.
Is it a bar? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. So your signed copy's over there, and you can buy more because we brought more.
Gift it.
And so, how do you pay? You brought one
I've
of
got
those.
my little square. I've got my phone.
Cool.
So if you
So go for it.
If you want to buy copies, and I hope you do, you can pay by credit card, and I'll process it right through my phone.
Sweet, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Buy them today. That's a different volume. Yeah.
Was your question answered, Marie? Yeah, cool. So we'll be kicked out of here at 3 p.m. Right? So until that time, mingle, orders of the chef, have a good time, meet everyone, and enjoy the rest of the time here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.